Alright, so this is going to be a video on how to recover a lost asset. So let's say you made a mod, for some reason you created a new Unity project, maybe you lost the asset within Unity, and you need it back, right? So big thing is I'm just going to go ahead and open up the profile folder, which I already have, that has the mod that I'm trying to get my assets back from. In this case, it's Betterboards. You can use a .peek, which is JetBrains .peek right here, or DNSpy. Either one will work. I prefer .peek, but I'm going to open this DLL in .peek, and we are going to extract the asset from it, and then use a program called Asset Ripper, which you can get on their GitHub here. It is github.com/ds5678 Asset Ripper. So go here, click releases, if we can go back, releases, and then you would download whatever version you need for yourself. The source code stuff is only if you actually want the source code itself, okay? So not the actual plugin. So now that we've opened it up in .peek, we'll see, kind of the code itself. This can be scrambled if they choose to use obfuscation. I did not choose to use this for Betterboards at the time. So resources, the IL repack.list is any DLLs that you wanted to be repacked if you used IL repack, but my actual asset is going to be this one right here. So I'm going to say save resource to file. It's going to be in my test folder here, and we're going to pull that out. So we're going to close this. I'm going to open up that test folder right here, and then we have the asset. Okay, so Asset Ripper can rip anything out of either assets and sometimes, depending on the game as well. So we're going to say File, Open File, and I'm going to navigate to Betterboards right here in my test folder, and we're going to open it. So this is going to give it to us in the native Unity version, all that big stuff that we could have chose in the beginning. That's how it's going to come out, okay? So I chose to keep it just the native defaults for Asset Ripper. So this is going to give us all the animators, all the rigid bodies, all the animation clips, anything that was attached to that prefab at the time. So I'm going to say export all files, and I'm just going to drop it right back in the same spot. And look at that. Betterboards because file or directory with the same name. Okay, so I can't put it there. I'm going to say export all files. We are going to actually navigate to my Unity project instead and tell it to output it here. This might be a better place for it. Okay, so that is one of the errors that you're going to get is if you try to put it in the same place as the asset bundle. Apparently, it does not like it. So we are going to create one here, folder, and then we're going to say, old assets, right? And we can right-click in Unity and say Show in Explorer. And if you notice, it'll say Custom Items Wards, and it takes us right to old assets. Okay. So I'm going to have it drop it here. So I'm going to click inside there, grab that path, go back to Asset Ripper, paste that path in, click Enter, and say Select Folder. So export's done. It does not take long at all. But if we go back into Unity, which it'll probably sit here and spin and load, it's going to grab all those assets for me. And we have Betterboards, assets, and then we have it set up kind of how I had it initially. So prefab instance, we have the Circling core and all this. This came straight from the game. We theoretically don't need that because we already have it. Okay. This is anything that referenced originally. So for Valheim in this case, it referenced Circling cores, Grey Dwarf Eyes, and Finewood. We do not really care about that. We can delete these if we want. We really just want anything that was associated with my asset at the time. So visual effects, sawdust, place stone, stuff like that comes straight from the game. So we don't really need it. But we do have the mesh. We have my old meshes and anything that I referenced and used. This is the Circling core, the Grey Dwarf Eye, and the Finewood asset mesh. So it does rip everything that it referenced and everything that it used. The big thing that we need is the prefab instance with our FX guardstone. In this case, the circle section, sawdust, anything that it did reference, we can reference again if we need. But Main thing I need is my mesh and my actual prefab itself. So prefabs, I know the prefab instance says, hey, it's in instances. It's actually not. It's going to be under asset bundles, better wards, and then right here is all of my better wards again, all in native format, which is .prefab. In Asset Ripper, so I'm going to open that back up right here. In Asset Ripper, you can actually choose the big menu that I was talking about. You can choose whether it's going to give it to you in native format, which is going to be prefabs, OBJ, simple FBX, or any of the other stuff that I honestly don't use, mainly because OBJ and FBX are the most common that you could find. You can change the image export format if you need to. Terrain, same thing. You can use Asset Ripper to get all of these. Okay. Default is whatever default would be. Usually MP3 or WAV is going to be kind of what you want it in. And anything that does get exported into OGG, if you export it into MP3 or WAV, I do recommend switching it to OGG only because your asset bundle, if you rebundle it back, is going to be much smaller. Okay, OGG is more compressed than those. So we actually have our old prefabs. I could double click on them and open them back up. But I have missing scripts. I have a big problem, right? It doesn't know what these scripts are. But you can actually go into Windows and then Package Manager here. And you could, well, actually, sorry, this is on the Asset Store. So we can open up the Asset Store here. And you can see it already exactly what I'm going to be searching for. It is NG missing is what you can just search for. You're going to get this right here. NG missing script recovery tool. If you notice, it is free. It is probably the best tool that you can find. It will save your life. And I'll show you kind of what I mean here. Anything that is similar is going to be referenced, okay? Luckily, this does have all of these missing scripts inside of this Unity project, so this will be a pretty quick and easy fix. Pretty dirty one, too. So, open NG missing script recovery. This one doesn't really know what it is, but we're going to scan the whole project, okay? This might take a second. All right, so here we are about 3, maybe 4 minutes later. You're going to get a thing that basically says anything that's broken in your project. Okay, not everything is considered to be broken, but you will want to find kind of where we are. It says asset, custom, better wards, whatever. We can say start this recovery, and it's going to go through a nice little screen. It's going to try and recover what it lost. It says some recovery requires your attention, right? Just say okay. So here is where you're going to find either the closest script that fits what you need, okay, or the best one, use your judgment, right? So here, this one actually is slightly a hard choice, right? We have one that has 15 fields matching, but one missing, right? We're missing monitors, it looks like. This one has one matching with additional 8, right? One matching, 8 extra. So you want the one with the most matches, ideally, right? So sometimes if the game has updated, if you rip this from a game, or using scripts that reference something in a game in order to mod it, so on and so forth, you're probably going to see things like, oh, you're missing something now, or oh, you're gaining something. Maybe they changed the code to eliminate or even move a method from one script to another. You're going to kind of see stuff like that here. Okay, so this is just anything that needs your manual attention to say, hey, we found, a decent amount of stuff, right? So I'm going to choose this top one because it matches the most. It says, hey, okay, you've got another one matching for extra. That's probably not the best one to choose, so I'm going to choose to skip that one, right? Same thing here. I'm going to choose to skip that one. We do have the better words and all that stuff, so we see that it actually didn't reference those scripts the way we wanted to, but we see a bunch of other dones and everything a-okay on the other ones, right? Part of the reason for this is NG script recovery is great, but maybe not always when we do the asset rip, because they are referencing scripts, or at least my better words at the time are referencing scripts that are mono behaviors. They're custom. So if we go in here and click better word and we try to fix it, it's just going to tell us mono behavior. We have no clue what they are, right? But hopefully, if this is your own asset, you know how they were set up. And luckily, I do. This is actually set up how a ward works in Valheim, right? You know, it's got a nice little radius. We do have our asset here, and if we can see, this is what they used to look like. It's got a little point light on it. It's got all the little gizmos, right? It looks like this. Main reason I wanted this back is because I didn't want to lose a lot of the animations that I made on this particular rune symbol on each one of these wards, and the colors. I didn't want to have to set all that back up. The scripts are relatively trivial. Okay, so I happen to know what these scripts are just by looking at them. But the big thing is you know, you might not be able to do this. Sometimes it is okay to say go in here and click manually, and you'll actually get a completely different option. So I would test that, and I would try that first, right? This doesn't know what any of these are, so I did not luck out in this case. But as I said, this was modeled after and technically a duplicate of the ward or the default ward in Valheim, which is actually called a guard stone or guard underscore stone. So if we go and look at this just as a reference, right, we can see, you know, the LOD group and the additional script here, right? So piece, Zenith view, wear and tear, private area. So if we go back into my assets, we're going to see, so piece, Zenith view, wear and tear, private area, but we have a LOD group right before the last two. And lucky enough for us, that's exactly how this was set up. Okay, so we know that this initial one here is going to be a piece. So we're going to add the piece script. We're going to add, and this is going to pop up because we have errors. It says is basically going to tell us, you know, you can't have a game object with no reference scripts. Ignore it. Just say, hey, okay, yeah, sure. Because anytime you change anything in Unity, it's going to try and save that prefab. But because we have all of these listed out, it's not going to work that way, right? So we're going to call this, it was Zenith view. And I know that there's the private area script, so I'm going to go ahead and attach that to it. There is a Zenith view script attached. All of these three scripts come from it. And then we also have the wear and tear script. So all of these scripts here actually come from the game Valheim themselves. So me referencing these scripts, it's not going to fix up here, sadly. So hopefully you can remember exactly how you called the objects, maybe localized, whatever the script referenced and how exactly it worked. When you add a piece script here, it's going to just add a blank script, right? We don't necessarily have anything set up because we just added them blank. The good thing is if you modeled it after a default game object, this is where it becomes easy, right? We're going to say guard stone, and I should have put the underscore here. We're going to jump here, and we're going to say, you know, save. It's going to tell us no. Just open this up, and we might even have to discard changes. But the big thing is, I don't want to retype all this. I don't want to have anything set back out all over again. You can actually click this here and say copy component and go right back to your better wards. And it did get rid of our script. So what we're going to do to fix that next time is we know the scripts. We know what we want. We know what we need, right? So you're just going to delete these. And then we're going to add our wear and tear script. We're going to add our piece script. Okay, and we're going to leave it in the original order, the way it was. And we had the private area script, which I believe was in the second slot. Actually, no, it was in the last slot. Not a huge deal, but I do like to try and keep things consistent. So we have the Zenith view script here. That one was definitely in the second slot. We copied the piece script, right? So we're going to click those same three dots, and we're going to paste values. And done. So we have every single value, every single thing that was originally cloned the way it works in the default game. This is going to automatically reference everything that we originally had because it's using the default prefab of what it used to be. Okay. We're also going to go and jump and grab the Zenith view, the piece, the wear and tear, and then we'll change it to the way we originally had it for our assets. You do have to do this for each asset. Unless you choose to just do it for one and then duplicate that asset and then change the color of the mesh all over again. That's fine too. But Personally, I don't want to really change anything, or as much as I don't have to change. I'll rather spend the extra 5 minutes on these scripts. So we're going to say guard stone, jump back here, and then we're going to say save, saving failed. So we're actually going to go back and see why that saving is failing. And if we look in the console, let's just try and click something else, click save. The console is going to tell us. So it says you're trying to replace a prefab point light that references a missing script. So this particular object cannot save because we have more missing scripts, okay? Same thing. Just go and click through, figure out what the scripts are. We know that it's going to be on the point light layer, the area marker layer, and the player base layer. The player base layer, I happen to know what the script is because it references the sphere collider. This is actually going to be the effect area script. We're going to drop that onto it. This was a player base originally. And then we have, let's see, the point light and the area marker. So the area marker script is actually referencing a circle. So it's a circle projector. We're going to grab the circle projector thing. And what was the other one? Point light. So point light, I don't remember exactly what this one references, so we're going to remove it for now just so we can save this game object. So you can hit Control S and save your game object. We don't get any errors. We can clear out these errors here. So now we can double click this one. No big deal, no big deal, right? So we're going to go out to guard stone and grab this. So once you do this for one, then you can just stay in that folder and it becomes a lot faster. So we're going to copy component, same thing, jump back, CNET view, paste component values, and then we can do it, go ahead and do it all at the same time if you want to. I'm just going to leave it all in one folder and then just kind of over time do that. So guard stone, I probably should keep this on like a copy paste type thing, but we're going to copy the component of wear and tear, jump back, and we're going to say paste component values on the wear and tear script. We're going to grab it from the guard stone again. We're going to grab this private area script and kind of all the components that came with it, right? And then paste component values. We are going to grab the point light script and figure out what that was. But this time, instead of pasting component values, we're going to actually paste as new. So guard stone, go right back to it. On the point light, we see that it was a light LOD. So what this is a level of detail, how much that light is at a specific distance away from the player and how well it looks. So we're going to go back here. We're going to click on my point light now, and we're going to find the three little dots, and we're going to say paste component as new. Boom. We have the script. We have all the values, right? Same thing. Guard stone. We referenced all the scripts on the main object. We grabbed the point light scripts, and now we're just going to go and figure out what was on the player base. So there was nothing set here. Sphere collider was 20. Hopefully all that stuff is the same. But this circle projector script, we want to grab that. So we're going to say copy component here. Go right back to better wards. And we are going to click on the area marker. And you notice we have this. We can choose to paste component values or paste as new. But because I already have the script here, we're just going to paste the values. And it sets everything for us. So now we have one of our game objects set up the exact way that it used to be, aside from what we called it initially, right? So we have all of the default values. We don't have the icons here, but luckily we do have all of everything that we did have before. So texture 2D, we have all the textures that we used. In assets, we also have all the animation clips, everything that I made. We have the animator controller. We have the asset bundle, of course, which has our prefabs in it. The audio clips, any sounds that I made. None of these were really custom. They were all straight from the game. The only thing that was slightly custom was this magic collector one. So we also have the materials. We have every single material that we made. As you can see, that's already being referenced just fine on our game object. Some things don't always come through perfect. But if you notice, we have just this Better Wards icon, this one icon. We don't have the other icons. You know, you're probably asking yourself where those are. You might have to recreate some things. You know, this isn't clean. You are deserializing scripts, more or less. Basically, an asset bundle gets deserialized, and you're grabbing those assets, but it doesn't always give you everything, and that is a pain. But at least there is something to work with, rather than nothing. But that is kind of how you repair your assets and get things back up and running. So we're going to change some of these values on the script to actually reference what this original default ward was, and then we're going to pull it into our new mod and allow it to work the way it used to. So the main thing that I needed from this was the mesh and the animations. That way, when we go into my new wards mod, it is an option, right? So if we go in here and look, we have this one set up very similar. We have the piece script, we have the ZNet view script, we have the wear and tear script, but we have my custom mono script here and what we want to call this particular object, as well as my custom damage area script. So I set this one up a little bit different because it's meant for a new mod. But main thing that I wanted was being able to swap out the meshes here. So if we enable this layer and we disable Thor, we see that this is what the old Guardstone used to look like, right? So what I want to be able to do is in-game use my legacy assets, but give you the legacy models, be able to switch between those models. And that's the biggest thing that I needed it for. So if you have any need to have your old assets, that's probably the fastest way to get them back. So you have at least something to work with. Not everything's going to come back in, as you saw. There's going to be some issues, just like as you saw in the video. Do your best to resolve them. That's the best thing that you can do. Just fight with it. Worst case, right? You're going to have to re-import it. Wipe the whole folder. Say you messed up. You did something wrong. We can go into the old assets and just, boom, click this folder and hit delete. You can re-bring it back in. Here's the DLL. We also have the asset here, right? But we told it to export, right? So just drag it and drop it right back into Asset Ripper and get your assets back. You might even get a potentially better rip of your asset and maybe even reference more scripts. So maybe give it a couple tries to start out, or just kind of work with what the first rip gives, which is what I'm going to do. So hopefully this was a decent tutorial on how to recover your lost assets. And, as usual, if you have any questions, just ask in the Odin Plus Discord. You can find it on any of our mods on Thunderstore. So you can go on to Thunderstore, find us. Most of our mods have the link to the Discord in the top right. Those should not expire, so you should always be able to find us. If not, you can directly message me on Discord. My name is Azumatt, hashtag 2625 or pound 2625 in Discord. That is my direct name. Feel free to send me a friend request or add me. Let me know. Thanks.